So for this whole drama vlog, I'm going to talk about episodes 3 through 7, which I will admit they don't have a specific art that ties them together as, say, the Tiki from Boney Island or any of the love triangles. Those come in later, like much later. So keep in mind, this show was still in its early stage, and the best thing that ever happened on episodes 3 through 7 is that they have a tie-in to a camp or a game show activity. Now, just a little heads up, I may speed up on some of these episodes so I can get them done out of the way, and I like to share my initial reactions on the eliminations that happened. Episode 3 was called The Big Sleep, and the challenge this time is to see who can stay awake the longest, which I will admit when I saw the commercial on what the next episode is going to be about, I feel a bit doubtful about that episode. Like, how are you going to make a no sleeping challenge more dramatic than the last episode? But thanks to its execution, it was actually a really good episode. One of the advantages that this episode had over Not So Happy Campers Part 1 and 2 is that there's more social interactions between the characters than there were last time. Most namely, the first ever Total Drama alliance involving Heather, Lindsay, and Beth. When Heather does her confessional on what she plans on doing to get herself further into the game, she had to pick two contestants from the show that are pretty much dim-witted in her eyes, so she picked Lindsay and Beth because they're so clueless. And because of this, she can force them to do whatever she wants with no questions asked. Another interaction that stands out the most is the relationship between Gwen and Trent, and what's even greater is that it's a tie-in to the first ever episode of the series. Remember when Trent was introduced and Gwen smiled at him? That was a hint of first crush. And whenever they talk to each other like favorite song, color, or looking at the stars in the sky, you do sense some good chemistry between them. Best of all, the more they talk, the more they stay determined to stay awake through the whole challenge. But that's not all. The episode takes advantage of this no sleeping challenge by thinking of multiple ways to make the contestants fall asleep. At the beginning of the episode, Chris forced them to take a 20k run and eat a turkey buffet. Later in the challenge, he read some boring fairy tale stories to them, along with a pop-up book of the history of Canada. And I had to admit, one of my favorite methods of forcing the contestants to fall asleep is chefs dressing up as a ballerina doing the Nutcracker Suite. And that's another thing I like from this episode. The comedy is funny here. We all remember those funny moments in this episode. Noah kissing Cody in his sleep, Owen sleepwalking in his bed with the fish, beavers, and yetis. And not to mention the scene where DJ tries to prevent himself from falling asleep by tying himself to a tree but fails. And the crazy thing about this challenge is that this was more evil than jumping off a cliff into shark-infested waters because sleeping is important to everyone. As for the elimination in this episode, unlike the first campfire ceremony, I knew exactly who would get the most votes to be eliminated, which is Eva. The episode hints out that she has an anger issue and she doesn't get along with everyone, and Heather stole her MP3 player while she was going to the bathroom and she exploded with fireworks, and she blamed someone for stealing the MP3 until Heather gave it back to her. Even though Eva apologized, they don't want her around anymore. So I will say this was a satisfying elimination, even though it was applied by Heather, but I don't think the Killer Bats will survive another episode with Eva. The next episode is Dodgeball, and I say this is a perfect challenge for Total Drama Island, a dodgeball challenge. One of the best moments in the dodgeball challenge are the ways how the contestants throw the balls or catch them. One of my favorite dodgeball moves is when Cody actually boomerang a dodgeball into DJ on the bag. Like, how did he do that? That's impossible! I also like how he used SAG electricity to chase Katie, and when Owen went game on after Lindsay and Tyler were eliminated in the second round. So after the last two episodes, I actually wanted the Killer Bats to win this challenge for one, because at the beginning of the series, I was rooting for Killer Bats because fish is my favorite animal, and I'm so relieved that this was the challenge where they actually win for once. I really like how they used Duncan as the secret weapon to help them win a few rounds, and I definitely like the final showdown where everyone is neck and neck up until Owen and Harold. Owen is cool enough as he is, but with Harold, he's actually amazing, like he broke the Matrix when he tried to dodge Owen's balls. It was even suspenseful where you actually want Harold to catch the ball so he can win this challenge for his team. So I was actually glad that Harold actually caught the ball to win for the Killer Bats, and I kind of knew, like Eva, that Noah was going to get eliminated because the episode hints out that he doesn't want to play dodgeball because he's a weakling. He rather wants to read his book on this bench. Granted, he would be an easy target to get hit by a ball, but he would at least try to throw or catch a ball for once. he would have a few votes to stay in the game. Okay, maybe not that much, but close to the bottom two with Lindsay since she doesn't know how to use a dodgeball. The next episode is not so quite famous, and in this episode, they're hosting a talent show. 3 members from each team must present their best talents and show them to Chef Hatchet. Whoever has the biggest score at the end of 3 rounds wins immunity. It is refreshing that this challenge is not extreme as the other episodes, but it is nice to see how these contestants present their talents. Like when Owen burped the alphabet in a world record, Izzy's dance of the rattlesnake, or Bev juggling torches like she did in the intro. For the challenges that were in the show or were supposed to be presented in the show, they were pretty good. I like Jeff's skateboarding skills, Trent's song was pretty good, and I definitely like Harold's beatbox scene at the end as a last minute decision. The only flaw I would have with this episode is that they present Bridget as a clumsy girl since she was responsible for breaking Courtney's violin, and the scene where she tried to present her talent on the show but she ends up barfing and it was really disgusting. My biggest fear was if they did end up losing, she was more likely to go home because it was her fault for all of these accidents, but I was relieved that they were saved by Harold again. When it comes to this elimination in this episode, I should have seen this coming on its initial airing. Okay, the Screaming Gophers lost, and it's down to the bottom two between Heather and Justin. Heather was supposed to do her ballet, but she ended up wasting her talent by reading Gwen's diary to the entire viewing world. Not only did she not receive any points from Shep, but she ended up embarrassing Gwen. I was thinking to myself, okay, she's gotta go. There's no way she would get the vote to stay for another episode. But then I remember she has an alliance, but how she's gonna receive the votes just by Lindsay and Beth alone? Well, it turns out she ended up persuading Owen and Izzy to join the votes with her. I think it was established in the bonus clips that Izzy was going to date Justin, but then Heather changed her mind on all this. And Heather actually persuaded Owen to vote for Justin by giving him a piece of cake. As for Justin's role on the talent show, it's fine. It's not as good as Trent's song or Harold's beatboxing, but still pretty good. But I'm still confused on why hot modeling is considered a talent. If you ask me, if he would speak more, he would stay for another day. It was disappointing that Justin got eliminated, but it had a satisfying ending where Gwen pranks on Heather by dumping Harold's red ant farm on her. Sweet, sweet karma. Another simple episode is called The Sookie Outdoors, and in this challenge, they simply had to camp out for the night, come back to morning for breakfast, and the first team to arrive at the campgrounds wins immunity. There isn't that much to talk about this episode. It's fine. There are some mixed moments that happen in this episode, like when Owen lied that he actually took down a bear, but I had to admit, it was a funny prank on Izzy dressing up as a bear. Like, how'd she get the costume? Oh, and I do like the fourth wall joke involving the pizza man. But as for the rest of the episode, there isn't that much to talk about it, other than there's going to be some small seeds that are going to grow bigger later in the series, like DJ having a pet bunny, the relationship between Duncan and Courtney. The closest that stand out for the moment is when Katie and Sadie get lost in the forest, or with Duncan's scary hook hand story. And since you know that Katie and Sadie are lost in the woods, they don't know where the killer bats are, you know where this is going. The killer bats are going to be up for elimination again, which means one of the best friends are going to be eliminated. There was even a scene where Katie and Sadie fighting each other, and we know they're going to get along again later since they are best friends for life. I didn't care that much on which best friend was going to get eliminated, but I do like in the campfire ceremony, they didn't do the dramatic music like they always do with the bomb 2, and Chris just throws the marshmallow at Sadie, and Katie was eliminated just like that. Yeah, the only thing that stood out in this episode is when Sadie says goodbye to Katie, because this is actually the first time in their life where they had to be separated and no longer be together for a while. And Katie brings out this big motivation that Sadie has to keep going for the both of them. And the next episode that follows is one of my favorite top 10 total drama episodes, Phobia Factor. And much like the Big Sleep episode, this was a diabolical scheme done by Chris McLean where he actually forced the contestants to face their fears because they listened to all their fears at a campfire. It basically has that Big Brother vibe that they're always being watched 24/7, and since they give so much of their fears away just like that without being noticed, they just walk into that trap. And for the most part, these fear challenges were really top-notch. The way that these contestants face their fears is smart and funny at the same time. Even when some of the contestants didn't complete the challenges, their failures were crazy, like Cody got turned into a zombie from the bomb explosion, or Jet getting covered in hail. If there was one fear challenge I want to give a point to, it would have to be Harold. He said he's afraid of ninjas, but honestly, he's not. He actually has nunchucks to defend himself against them. He only failed because he tripped and fell down the toilet. When the contestants do face their fears, they were actually satisfying. I like how Sadie conquered her fear on bad haircuts all by herself, showing that she can survive Total Drama Island without Katie. There's another good scene where Courtney tells Duncan he doesn't have to face his fear on that Celine Dion music store standee, which was quite a specific fear when you think about it. And the scene where Trent helps Gwen on surviving being buried alive, and he does so by sharing his story on why he's afraid of mimes. And the way he tells his story, you do understand why he's afraid of mines, and you sympathize with him. Another good moment in the episode is when Courtney tried and failed the gelatin phobia challenge. And just like Trent's story, you do understand why she's afraid of green jelly. She looks at it as disgusting, sugary, jiggly snot. But she could be thankful she's not going to be swimming with Owen in that jelly. And even though in her confessional camp she felt guilty that she didn't complete the challenge but should have given them triple points to get the Killer Bass to win this challenge, I knew she wasn't going to get voted out in this episode. As much as I wouldn't mind the relationship between Lindsay and Tyler to keep going, it's more likely that Tyler would get eliminated due to his phobia of chickens, and he never explains why he's afraid of chickens in the first place. Was the evil chicken from Dramarama actually canon, or did he have a bad experience with Clucky from Pocketail Island? They never explain why he's afraid of chickens. Even though Tyler's known as an accident pro, I do like him as a character. It's just sad to see him eliminated already due to this phobia factor episode. And that's all I got for this Total Drama vlog episode. As the episodes keep going up and better than ever, does it keep going up and betterer than ever? Stay tuned for the next vlog.